afternoon to you. Welcome to the Oil Stream right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Tune in, iHeartRadio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. It's Matt Iwanyk. It's Tom Gazzola with you here. I'm back at EST Controls. Tommy's in his condo at his the EST Satellite Studios downtown. He was at morning skate as it is game day. Oilers and Ducks. Tommy, how are you doing today? You managed to stay warm in the short walk to and from Rogers Place?
Yeah, Matty, as you know, living in this same building, you can make it a super short walk by going inside at the corner of, Loblaws. And I did that this morning, and that's how soft I've become.
But it's a longer walk.
It is.
Overall, but you're not outside.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a good walk. I thought it was quite enjoyable. I still had my coat. Very quiet morning at the rink today, but that's okay. You know, it feels like we're coming out of, but still in the holiday break. You know, we kind of talked about it yesterday a bit on the Hangout, and it very much had that sense today at the arena. And with the Ducks playing in Anaheim yesterday, there's a few of their players and their people trickling into the rink, but it was very casual at the arena today, but some good information and some good stuff down there as always.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But you're right. Like to me, it's when school comes back, which is Monday.
Yeah.
More people are back to work. And then the students are back and so it's like, that's the business New Year. The New Year starts Jan 1, but the business New Year starts on like that first Monday or Tuesday after the New Year. And so like the 6th this year, that's going to be, we'll be fully staffed here at Edmonton Sports Talk for the first time in a few weeks. Once Dusty returns, we'll all be going. So that's really when things just feel normal. Even the roads today coming in, just quiet. So quiet.
I don't know about you, Matty. I know you're a busybody too, and you're always working on something. I'm kind of the same way. I like a good break, but I'm antsy to just like have normality and rhythm back. Cause like, I know we're back and we're working, but it just, to me, it feels odd. I'm like, am I missing something? What's going on here? You know what I mean? So I don't know if you feel the same way. I would assume probably somewhat, but yeah, it's kind of like, oh, let's go. Come on, snap.
I completely feel the same way. I'm a guy of likes routine. So it's like, I want to, come to work at the same time, leave at the right time, know what I have to do throughout my day. Like that's the same. And now obviously the tasks are different, but like knowing that right now I'm not having to host the oil stream or something, like I'm back to, I'm accomplishing whatever tasks I need to get done type thing. You want that for like a couple of months, right? Especially after like where it's all over the place. Love doing these shows and things, but it's just knowing that everything's just normal. Which is weird for us though, because like half a year we're never normal because of the CFL. Like there's always those days at the end of the week where we're short a person type thing. But at the same time, at least when it's in the summer, most people are taking a little bit of time off. You can always get in touch with us here on the Oil Stream. Jump in the nasty chat on YouTube, or you could text us 780-218-9999. As I mentioned, the Oil Stream presented by Boston Pizza. Pasta Tuesday prices every day, all January, $15.99 for all gourmet pastas for the entire month. So be sure to go check out Boston Pizzas. If you're going to the game tonight, go hit up a Boston Pizzas, including the one right in Ice District or nearby or whichever one, and then make your way down to Rogers Place as the Oilers will take on the Ducks. That means we've got an Oil Stream pregame show coming with Tommy. Is Cass by today?
No, Cass is away, so Joaquin will step in for him. Gager, always fantastic.
Gager and Hernan. They will have you covered at 6 o'clock, but we also got you covered right here, right now. Oilers and Ducks. You mentioned, we'll get into the lines and what happened at the morning skate, but Ducks play yesterday. Mm-hmm. The Oilers have a few days off. The Oilers are also pissed off from losing to the Ducks on Sunday. This right now just screams like the Oilers should dominate a 60-minute hockey game tonight, does it not?
It does. I mean, they should be embarrassed about what happened on Sunday. I mean, we absolutely shredded them for a let's call it a piss poor performance, because that's what it was. And they had two goal leads, and they had the moms there. They want to get a win for them after a tough OT loss in LA. And guess what? It was the Ducks putting the pedal to the metal and not the Oilers. And the Oilers thought that they could coast to victory, and they got their butts handed to them, unfortunately. So they should have that very much top of mind. But in the meantime, Maddie, like the Ducks should be feeling great about themselves. They beat the Oilers. They beat Winnipeg in Winnipeg last night. They've beaten the Jets twice this season. They're probably feeling pretty good about themselves. So Edmonton should be on its toes. And yeah, if it needs a little bit more motivation, look no further than Sunday's performance against Anaheim, because that was 2 points in hand for most of the game, and they let it slide. They have no one to blame but themselves. They let their guard down. This should be a game, I'll emphasize that, where the Oilers just run away with it. But Ducks are feeling good. Ducks are coming off a big win. However, they did play last night. Edmonton needs to be on its toes. And then the Oilers traveled, Maddie, and they're in Seattle tomorrow. Yeah. So it's not like it's easy sledding here for the Oilers. But this is technically the easiest part of this back-to-back in two different cities. So they're getting ready, all the equipment stuff. The truck was getting ready to go. But the Oilers' minds better be on the Ducks tonight and not the Kraken tomorrow.
Yeah, like I think most Oilers fans want to see a bit of a beatdown, like a 4-0 hockey game, 5-1, something like that. But in any case, anything less than a loss is a disappointment in this one. Just adding on, because you don't have to wait from that disappointment against the Ducks on Sunday. It's not like you're having to wait 3-4 weeks and you remember how that was feeling. You had that this week, and you've only won game since then. You won, and you just winning in overtime against the Jets, feeling good about themselves, but also still tired though now. And they're coming to town with less freshness in their legs, unlike the Edmonton Oilers, who had 2 days off. Anything less than the 2 points I think Oilers fans are going to be a little disappointed in that. If you want to be that team that is one of the best in the Western Conference, these are the games you have to just easily go take those 2 points. And so we'll see if they can go do that tonight.
I don't know if that's what I'm wondering is does Edmonton have to go out and stomp Anaheim, or because Anaheim's playing well, has the confidence of knowing they can beat Edmonton because they did it a handful of days ago? Would a closer game worry Oiler fans? I think the answer is probably, because we see it every day. The Oiler fans, that if the win is not up to their expectation, they raise concern. I think a beatdown would be ideal. I think it's within the cards. I just don't know if it's going to happen with the way Anaheim's playing right now. So if we see another game like we did on New Year's Eve, where Edmonton took care of business, I think respectably well, I think people should be satisfied. But I'm sure on the post-game show, we're going to see people, they're like, should have beat them by 4. And if they lose, they'll be freaking out and the sky will be falling.
If they win a 3-1 hockey game, but a solid team effort all around, take advantage of their offensive opportunities, just play a sound defensive game, Skinner and Net plays well, I think there'll be a lot of people that will just be happy. Got the 2 points, took care of business, did what they needed to do. Yeah. There, though, will be those that will be like, it should have been 6-0. And there will be a small portion, but I think there's a lot of people that would be able to understand that it was a good hockey. Now, if the Oilers win a 3-1 sloppy hockey game where they don't play well, I think then a few more people will be like, hey, great to get 2 points, but they should have been a little sharper. So we will have to wait and see. Yeah, it'd be great if this team could just go dominate. But as long as they get a sound, nice, strong victory in terms of just getting those 2 points, most people should be happy. I do want to run through the lines because these were the lines from yesterday, and it was an optional skate. Any expectation that these lines were changed? Because Monday to Tuesday, there was lines on Mondays, and Tuesday, Knobloch said there would be changes. Yeah. Are we expecting any changes to these lineups I'm about to read?
Okay, so the lines you're about to read, if they're from yesterday's practice, is what the team will go with tonight, to start at least. And Knobloch today was asked about tap dancing and switching things up on the fly, and he kind of joked around about it. But yeah, go ahead. This is what they're expected to start with.
McDavid in between Nugent Hopkins and Brown. Draisaitl sending Podkolzin and Arvidsson. Janmark between Kapanen and Hyman. Henrique centering Skinner and Perry. Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Stetcher, Kulak, Emberson defensively, and Skinner getting the start in the net. What did Knobloch have to say about the lines and changes things up?
Well, he dropped how long do I have to answer this type of response at first. Obviously, it depends on game flow. It depends who he and the coaching staff recognize are playing well. It depends on matchups and what the other team's throwing at his lines. But essentially, he admitted to like it always changes mid-game for him, depending on the scenario. You know, why do you go to the nuclear option so quickly? Well, is the team down a goal, or do they need momentum? And we see McDavid and Draisaitl out there. Sometimes Perry's on that line, Matty. Sometimes it's Hyman on that line, and it's just kind of interesting. So it just feels like, and I think it reestablishes that don't get too attached to a lot of these lines. And I think in Knoblauch's tenure, that's been pretty consistent as he flips things around pretty quickly. These lines that we're looking at today, much like we had on Tuesday when we saw them in warm-up, was, I think, the theme balance. And we're hearing that from the locker room, you know, balanced attack, spreading it out. If you're Zach Hyman, I don't think you're looking at this as a demotion because you still have good players on your line. Kapanen's playing well. Janmark playing center again is, you know, I guess, I mean, he's the janitor for a reason. And I know we joke about how much I appreciate his game, but this is kind of speaking to what he's capable of doing. Is he an ideal third line center? No. Should Adam Henrique or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins be technically the quote unquote third line center? Yeah. But in small instances during an 82 game season, things change a little bit. So, we'll see how these lines stack up against Anaheim. Edmonton is a deeper team. Edmonton is a better team. How long they last, you know, time will tell. If they can get through this whole game rolling these four lines, then I expect to see them again tomorrow night. Now, if the Oilers get themselves into some jams tonight and are sputtering and are not able to maintain zone time, I would fully anticipate he changes them mid-game and then flips them somehow tomorrow. But right now, this theme is balance, and you know they talked about that, acknowledged it, and let's see if that rings true.
Okay, you mentioned the Hyman part there, and you said it shouldn't be viewed as a demotion. Okay, so how should people view to largely Hyman going down there? Is this a thing? Do we look at it on his recent play and being goalless in a few games, or do we look at this more as Knoblauch sending him down to try to spark a third line?
Yeah, that's how I would look at it. I mean, I'm just looking at Hyman's stat line. I know, you know, maybe he hasn't scored in a few games, but let's see what he's done. His body of work. I mean, and he's got that bubble on his helmet, and you know he busted his nose. So like since he's come back, 2 goals, a goal, no points, 1 goal, 2 goals, 1 and 1, a goal, an assist, and then he was held pointless. So since he's come back from injury, where he missed those 5 games, he's only had 2 games without a point. And to me, Matty, like, that's not a reason to demote a guy. Or if I was him, I'd be feeling generally pretty good about my game overall of late. And I would think that he would be the guy to help bolster that quote unquote third line with Janmark and Kapanen. To Kapanen's credit, let's go over what he's done lately. Like, he's had some offensive punch since he's come here from St. Louis. He's been pointless in his last 2. Had a goal against LA, and then was pointless in the 3 prior to that. So he's kind of been streaky, but he's been all right. And then Janmark, I don't expect a lot of offense from Janmark at all. Last time he picked up a point was 4 games ago against Ottawa, where he had an assist, and that was his only point in the last 8. So that line should be responsible. That line should be able to get some offensive zone time. That line should be able to muck and grind and maybe even surprise you with an ugly goal. That's just 3 veteran guys that should be able to hold their own against a weaker opponent in Anaheim. And if I'm Zach Hyman, I'm not going, geez, I'm really letting my team down, because he's not. He's playing well, and he's doing it with a busted up nose. So the other thing too is this is temporary. So I wouldn't be too worried if I were him. And I don't think it's because his play has dipped at all.
Yeah, and as you said, this is how we start these games. There's a good chance that we can see even tonight Hyman being moved around. That's just the way these things go. Okay, so back to back here. Skinner gets the start tonight, which then you would expect Pickard gets the start tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Do you like that rotation of the goalies? Do you like that Skinner goes tonight with the potential of Pickard tomorrow? Or would you prefer to see it reversed?
I think like naturally I'd like to see it reversed, but maybe they want to. Pickard was fine against the Ducks. I don't think he was particularly great. I know some people said he had an outstanding game against Anaheim. I think he's one of the reasons why the Oilers were able to stay in it. Although, like, I didn't love the first goal that he let in, the Gauthier one. There was a defensive breakdown on that one. Emerson got busted. He got beat on a play, and Gauthier goes and slides it underneath Pickard. But, he made some big saves. I don't know if the Oilers are trying to get Pickard away from the Ducks. I don't feel like that's the case. Maybe they just want to keep Skinner in a groove, and they feel comfortable with both guys, and they'll let Pickard go against Seattle tomorrow. But I think I'd rather throw Pickard back in there against Anaheim. Maybe there is a kind of a gamesmanship to it where the Oilers recognize what the Ducks did to them last Sunday. The Oilers recognize what the Ducks have done in the last week, winning yesterday in Winnipeg against the Jets. And maybe that's the Oilers just being like, you know what, we're gonna go at you with our best and not leave this to chance at all. So I don't know. There's obviously a strategy there, but I think I would have preferred Pickard against the Ducks, and then Stu Skinner goes tomorrow, but that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's the way I generally like it. I was talking about two guys in a goalie yesterday. I like going with your backup in the first game, and then because the second game, naturally your forwards and defense would be a little less fresh. I would rather have my star goalie in net for that game to try to a degree, bail them out in a sense, or help balance that out, as opposed to, having to put that on the backup goalie. Now, that said, obviously opponents might change my decision-making on that one if I was a coach. Looking at this one, though, like Ducks, Kraken, the Oilers should be good enough to win both of those. I wouldn't look at, I don't think the opponent matters as much to me in this one. I like the idea of my starter getting, the second game as opposed to the first game. But hey, Chris Knobloch, he generally has a good feel for these type of things.
Yeah, and you know what else is crazy, Matty, is Stu Skinner's only played at Anaheim twice in his career.
Really?
It's been all backups, and the Oilers have absolutely dominated this series. Like up until that game on Sunday, they had won 7 straight against the Ducks. I think they had won 5 in a row at the Pond. They were just absolutely owning the season series. They were 10-1 in the last 11 against Anaheim, and a lot of those were games that went to the backup. So this is just going to be the third time Stu Skinner faces the Ducks, and Stu's 1-1 against Anaheim, 308 goals against average, 850 save percentage. So it's not sexy numbers, but he's barely faced the Ducks, even though they're a division rival.
Yeah, it's also like, when did he play those games?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think some people will look at those numbers and go, like, that's awful. He didn't play last year. This year, 2 years ago, he didn't. Doesn't look like he played them 2. Oh, I'm doing my search wrong. Oh, there we go. So he played in 2022-23. The Oilers lost that game. He gave up 4 goals. Oh, I remember this game, 4-3 in Edmonton. I think it was an afternoon game. They did not look good in that game overall as an entire team. I do remember that one. And then he got to win somewhere else. So that kind of skews those numbers a little bit there. Yeah, now I do remember that one. This is the Oil Stream. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here. Oilers getting set to take on the Ducks. So we built a parlay, a game day, EST game day parlay for the Oilers during the hangout today.
Yep.
We decided to go big with this one. So we're banking on an Oilers blowout win tonight.
Okay.
Straight up. And as we're asking for Nasty's help, Jay and I with Jasmine and the Nasties, we're trying and build this, and we're like, hey, I was like, should we make it big? And Jay's like, let's make it a little big. So we got a Leon Draisaitl goal.
Okay.
Leon with 3+ shots on goal.
Yeah.
McDavid, 2+ points. Nuge and Bouchard each to have an assist. Plus the Oilers to cover 1.5. So they got to win by 2 or more goals. Plus 12.25.
Really? I might sprinkle on that.
$10 will win you $122.50. If you want to do an Iwanyk type bet, $1 will win you $12.25.
Very nice.
I actually put quite a bit on this one. I went and dropped 20 on this one.
You did?
I figured we built this. We're going all out. I'm all in too. I'm all in. Let's go big with this one. So if you're interested in the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay on Cool Bet, they gave us that little bump. Go to coolbet.com, exclusives, the Sports Talk parlays. Click that, and you'll see the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay. So,
I'll do a little sprinkle.
Yeah, like if the Oilers go dominate, like we think that they could, I like the chances of most of this. I think maybe the Leon 3+ shots might be the big one that gets me.
Depends on the power plays, right?
Depends on the power plays. How many times recently has he had 3+ shots? Since Christmas in the last 3 games, he's had 2 shots, 4 shots, 2 shots. Prior to that, it was 2 shots, 6 shots, 6 shots, 3 shots, 5 shots, 5 shots, 3 shots. So he's right on that edge. If we're sweating a Leon shot late in the third period, oh boy. It'll be a little fun one. But again, that's up at CoolBet. Let's get to Keep It or Clip It. Brought to you by Tommy Guns. At Tommy Guns Original Barbershop, they believe in a great haircut is more than just a quick in and out. It's about the whole experience. That's why they follow the code. A commitment to deliver the best barbershop experience every time you visit, from check-in to the finishing touch. Every step is crafted with care. No appointments necessary. Just walk in, relax, and they'll take it from there. Looking at the Oilers' schedule, Ducks tonight, Kraken tomorrow, in Boston Tuesday, in Pittsburgh Thursday, Chicago next Saturday before they take on the LA Kings home here in Edmonton on the 13th, which isn't a prime game. But looking at the next 5 games, so Ducks, Kraken, Bruins, Penguins, Blackhawks. Keep it or clip it, the Oilers get over 8.5 points in the next 5 games. So to get over 8.5 means they win all the games, or they win 4 and lose in overtime in the 1 game that they lose. Keep it or clip it, 8.5 points the Oilers will get in the next 5.
That's dicey. I'll clip it. I want to live dangerously and keep it, but I don't like the likelihood of that. I think they could falter in one of these games. They shouldn't, in theory, but I would clip it. I think that they blow one of these games, and it's either in Seattle or Pittsburgh, I feel like.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Why Pittsburgh?
I don't know. I should want to say Boston, but for some reason, I think maybe in Pitt they have a letdown. That's just kind of my hunch. So I think they take care of business tonight. Tomorrow could be a problem. I think they get back to work in Boston. Pittsburgh 50-50, and then you cannot mess around with that game on Saturday against Chicago. You just need to win and put yourself in a good spot playing against a good Kings team at home on that Monday. So I don't know. There's something like there's been some moments this season where Pittsburgh has surprised some teams, and they've kind of like gotten onto little stretches where you're like, oh, Pittsburgh all of a sudden seems half decent, but they're kind of Jekyll and Hyde that way, at least from what I've witnessed from them. So I think Pittsburgh could give them fits. It should be Boston, but I feel like Edmonton is in a good place against Boston, and we'll be able to take care of business there. So that's why I think Pitt. What do you say? You keeping it or clipping?
Well, I'm keeping it. I think that this team rolls a little bit here. Last year they got off to an 11-0 January. I don't think they're going to undefeated in this month, but this team finds a way to get going. People could look at last weekend and go, they lost in overtime, lost in regulation, Kings, Ducks back to back, but there was a 9-3-1 December. Yeah. This team is playing rather well, and I think Ducks win tonight. I think they're going to beat the Blackhawks next Saturday. I think they're going to beat the Pens next Thursday. So it's the Seattle and the Boston games I'm looking at. Tomorrow's the difficult one because it's the travel back-to-back day. It's going to be, okay, what kind of start do the Oilers get out in Seattle? If they've got their legs early, okay, then I think they're going to go get that win against Seattle. They actually have a pretty good record against Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to take a look. I just feel like that's a team that the Oilers have over the few seasons.
9-2.
9-2?
Yeah, and they've won the last 6 in a row.
Now, with that said, they had won 7 straight against the Ducks before last Sunday, and we saw what happened. Right. And then the Boston, I feel in recent memory, and I haven't looked this up, they've done well in Boston. They've been really good games. They've been close. Now, and I think you mentioned on the Hangout yesterday, prior to that, like, there was a stretch where they lost, like, 22 straight in Boston or something like that.
Yep. They went from November 7th, 1996 until December 14th, 2015 without a win in Boston.
Now, naturally, they go there once a year, and there was a stretch where they didn't go there for a couple of years.
Correct.
So it's like when we talked about the Elks losing streak at Commonwealth. If you go by days, well, an entire calendar was played without them playing a game, so not much you could do with that one. But so it's the Seattle of Boston. But like, if I think they're going to lose in Boston, history would suggest I feel like that they're going to lose in overtime even, which would get me 9 points if I'm looking at the Oilers' schedule.
That would be pretty damn good. By the way, Edmonton's won 4 straight visits to Boston in 7 of the last 8. So pretty good. That's why I think Pittsburgh.
I'll say this. If they lose to Pittsburgh, your post-game show is going to be fun that day.
It's always fun. I want to just start
but it's going to be fun in a spicy way.
Oh, I know.
In a very spicy way if they're going to drop one to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Even if they rattle off 3 here and they're 4 straight wins, people will still be very angry if they happen to go lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But yeah, I think if they lose in this stretch, I think they get it to overtime and lose. So I think 4 wins is possible. And then I think it'll be an overtime, not a regulation loss. So I will keep it. Keep it or clip it. There are some major changes that are needed from a hockey perspective with Hockey Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping it?
Oh, just in general, I thought we were going to dive into it. Yes, keeping it 100%. Belzy and I have been talking about this for months on Hello Hockey, which is back tomorrow on Edmonton Sports Talk from 10 to noon. Hockey Canada has been, I know the scandal and all the stuff that's happened off the ice. It has really shed a lot of light on the organization. And, now it's certainly under the microscope as it has to be. That's a must. But the actual hockey component and developmental system that exists today is faltering. And now we're finally starting to see that happen at the highest levels. Is it a red alert? And is this nation in trouble when it comes to the sport of hockey? No. But like the team that they picked and the guys that they left off the ice and off the roster is concerning because it's like they overthought it. I go back, this is an old reference now, but when Canada at the Olympics took Rob Zaminer over like Mark Messier at the 1998 Nagano Olympics, like it's crap like that. It's like, or even the 2006 Olympics in Torino, where they thought that they were so confident that they could just roll with the same type of team that won on small ice in 2002. Or no, they played international ice in 2002 at Salt Lake, but they tried to go with the same group. It didn't work. It blew up in their face. Like there are instances and have been in the last few decades where Hockey Canada either trips itself up or is too cocky to know any better. And I think this is one situation. This World Junior is a situation where it has tripped itself up. I heard Huss talking about it earlier, that he thinks that maybe they wanted guys with like squeaky clean images and no bad boys or whatever. And that's just his theory, but maybe there is something to that. Huss has been around long enough that and knows a lot of those people and the type of people that put together these teams. And that's the type of thing that is discussed at the executive level. And so Hockey Canada is tripping itself up. This team was a disaster. It's unfortunate because these kids have the weight of the world on them. It's also unfortunate that this tournament is regarded the way it is, and generally just in our country, it's overblown. It's become too big. It should be a fun and important tournament for our country and these players as they embark on their pro careers. But it almost feels like it's become a burden, and that's not fun, and that doesn't help guys. And now these kids are gonna have the shame of faltering. And I don't know, like Maddie, I was watching that game last night, and when things were going bad, or like the penalty, the 5-minute, the game misconduct, whether you think it's a worthy of being kicked out or not, or you don't think it's even a penalty, like just the look on people's faces and the reaction. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, these are 17, 18, 19-year-old kids playing against their peers. Yes, it's an international tournament. Yes, it's on home soil. But like the reaction and vitriol I saw after the Latvia loss was ridiculous. And I think we've let it get to our heads to the point where it's become ridiculous. Like it's not only Hockey Canada, but I'll just say like hockey fans or Canadian hockey fans too blow this thing up to be way bigger than it should be. It is an important tournament. It is a great tradition around the holidays. It is a fantastic stage for these players, not just Canadians, but players from every nation that's a part of it. There's so much bad juju around Canada and the World Juniors right now. It does need to be fixed. Hockey Canada needs to sort itself out. I would honestly, Matthew, look to USA Hockey and how it is developing its kids and how its program has adapted. I know it's different. You know, the culture of hockey is different in Canada than it is in the US, but Canada has been surpassed in its development and how it does things. There's so much politics involved in Canadian hockey at every level. It's unbelievable. It's rotten to the core. I'm not saying that there isn't that in USA hockey and how it develops its kids, but here it's almost like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's become very political. There are so many issues with our development program, and it's finally kind of come to the forefront with these past two seasons or past two tournament results. So I could go on and on about it. I think we're going to talk about it a lot tomorrow on Hello Hockey, but there's so many issues with Hockey Canada, the World Juniors being at the forefront. I think that they are trying to do what's right, but any wrong move they make is going to be blown up out of proportion because they're under the gun. It's such a mess. And I feel bad for Pat McLaughlin, my old boss, who hired me at the Oilers, who's one of the guys in charge over there, because unenviable position. And you know, maybe they need to blow it up and start picking up the pieces and start all over again and build it a bit differently, because it's in a bad place. And unfortunately, the World Juniors is it's the highlight point.
Great Rob Zamner poll, by the way.
Thank you.
Ken does credit you with that one as well. Yeah, it's tough seeing Canada not medal for two straight years. Again, just focusing on the hockey part of Hockey Canada here, it's just getting in our own way, not taking the best players. Yep. When you leave top players at home, and I'll go back to 98. Like, if you go lose 98 because Gretzky shoots, everyone goes, we lost. When you go and lose with Gretzky sitting on the bench, that is something everyone's always going to talk about. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing here. It's like, hey, look, if Canada goes and wins this gold medal this year, if they had, we would talk about what a great job Canada did and Dave Cameron did and the staff of Hockey Canada. But it's also a huge risk that if you don't win, which they didn't, and they didn't even medal, we're going to look back and go, why'd you leave these guys at home? Like, it just seemed like a no-brainer. Like, you want to lose with your best. And Canada did not lose with their best. They tried building that hockey team, quote unquote, and it seems like we go through a cycle every decade or so where they try doing it the right way with building a hockey team, and then we lose, and then it's like, well, how about we just bring our best and make them fit into the pieces and go win that way? And lo and behold, generally when we do that, we actually go win. I do want to take this. Hunter Momes text into 780-218-9999. I will get to his text momentarily, but I'll go to Troll here. Saying that, do we think it's time Canada does a hockey program like the USNTDP, play all our good young players on one team like the USA does? Canada used to have that development program back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Tom Rennie was running it. I don't know if Gager was on that team or not.
Yeah, he was. That was the national team, yeah.
Do you think we need to look at going back to that? Because I don't think we do. I think we just need to bring pick our team better. And we probably do better if we just pick the top players that we left at home. Do you think that maybe, though, that cohesion, if Canada went that way, is the way to go?
Like the U.S. is the model right now, and I think you can incorporate or adopt something similar. Now, Canada does have, I think it's called the Program of Excellence or something like that, and they do have like at every age group like 50 guys that are identified as their guys, and they pull from them. Whoever's playing the best gets an invite. You make the U18, that's the Holinka. You make the this roster, and that they have like a general pool from every age group and every year that they keep tabs on and that are part of the program. Not every year do those guys make the top team. So they kind of have a loose model structure that's sort of like what the U.S. does, but the U.S. has a team, 23 guys or 26 guys. I think they play in the USHL and they play in all the international events. It might be worth looking at. It would probably be good to just like talk to the U.S. if they're willing to discuss how they go about their philosophy and what they see works for them and how they envision the future and why it's beneficial to do things the way they do. And if Canada can somehow incorporate some of those concepts into its model and have kind of a hybrid, and if that works for Canada, because again, they're two different hockey cultures. I think maybe that would be worth doing. But yeah, it's one thing's that's kind of becoming apparent is that, this system isn't thriving anymore. It's just kind of, it exists and it's kind of like, yeah, maybe they'll do good, maybe they won't do good. And then on top of that, we're going to add politics, and we're going to also be ultra conservative and scared because we had a bunch of idiots make some stupid mistakes on a team a long time ago and do it again a few years ago. You're always going to have guys make mistakes and do really dumb things, wrong things, unfortunately. And the way it all played out for the 2018 team, it's bad. It's a bad look. It's a bad thing that was done. There are repercussions for that. And now it's just put Hockey Canada under the microscope, and it's not just, bad actors doing bad things. It's what else is fundamentally not working properly for the system or the organization and development program. It's kind of become this confluence of like everything coming to a head at once. You know what I mean, Maddie? Like, so here's a great opportunity to restart.
Yeah, a good reset in a lot of ways. Just a good reset for Hockey Canada. The Hontoria Moms text I wanted to get to, it kind of transitions to the Four Nations with this. Canada lost in the World Juniors like they're going to lose in the Four Nations. They think their bleep don't stink, and they don't need to take the best players. Taking a line of third liners to a short tournament is so stupid. It's like sitting starters because you think you're that good. I think it is stupid for the World Juniors to not take your best players. You have a pool of only 3 years of age groups to grab from, and it is that short tournament to take your best. Do you agree, though, that that's not the right way to do things when it comes to the Four Nations? Because I'm the flip side of that one. I'm okay with them doing this similar type thing of kind of quote-unquote building a team for the Four Nations, because you're choosing from the best Canadians over like the entire National Hockey League. You're not stuck to an age period. And ultimately, Cicerelli for Hyman, I don't believe that that's going to be the reason if Canada loses the Four Nations. That's why we lost. That's the decision we're going to look at.
Yeah.
Our top guys are our top guys, and they're going to have to lead this nation. It's the McDavid, it's the Makar, it's the Crosby, it's the Makars of the world that we're going to be looking at going like they have to carry us. And that's where I'm okay with, making a little bit of the hockey decision as opposed to just best player available for an NHL style tournament. Where are you at when it comes to the Four Nations and the idea of building that roster?
Yeah, like Cirelli is one that surprised me. Hagel was another one that surprised me, and I know that those are John Cooper guys, and he has a good feeling about them. I know Hagel's having a fantastic season too, by the way, and that's worth noting. He's a good local product. I look back at the last best on best in 2014 and even 2010. And we sent our best players and they adapted to fit the roles that were necessary. They played defensive checking style. Like I think Jamie Benn was on the fourth line of one of the Olympic teams, and Chris Getzlaff was middle six guy. Like guys adapted, but they were just such good players that they handled those roles very well. Jonathan Taves was a beast. We think of him as a two-way player. He was absolutely a monster in the Olympics for Canada. So like it's okay to have a Chris Kunitz to ride shotgun with Sidney Crosby, and it worked out for Canada. But even that was a bit of a, well, let's see how it goes, and it happened to work. But having a few of those concerns me. But if we're at a point where like the talent, if you're deciding between Zach Hyman and Anthony Cirelli, I'm taking Hyman. But if John Cooper has a specific role for Cirelli and he's going to play with Hagel or something like that, and they're going to continue to play like they are at the NHL level. If that happens and I'm wrong, then so be it. Canada wins and they benefit. But I like the idea of sending your best even at the NHL level. I just think it worked for Canada in the 2010s so well.
We also had great goaltending in those ones.
We
we're still very fortunate. We also defensively, like I still go to that 2010 defense. I gotta see if I can quickly get to it here. Like you had Pronger, you had Niedermeyer. I think you would have had Keith and Seabrook. Who else do we have at that? Like it was that 2010. We should have done even better. But Drew Doughty, Dan Boyle. Dan Boyle, Drew Doughty, Duncan Keith, Scott Niedermeyer, Chris Pronger, Brent Seabrook, and Shea Weber. That's a ridiculous defensive core we had back in 2010.
Yep.
Man, I missed that tournament. That one was a fun one because we were worried about Canada at one point. Beat Norway 8-0. Barely beat Switzerland and shootout 3-2. I remember that because Crosby looked so pissed off. Lost to the Americans 5-3. Yep. And then they started rolling. 8-2 over Germany, 7-3 over Russia, 3-2 over Slovakia in the semis. And then obviously the golden goal in the gold medal game as we beat the Americans 3-2. That was a fun journey.
Yes, it was.
I don't think we're going to have as much love about the Four Nations as that one. That's just a wild guess for me.
It's a tune-up.
100% it is.
Yeah, that's how we have to look at it. And I'm rooting for Canada. I'm using we, Matthew. We want to win.
Because you're Canadian.
But it's a tune-up. So maybe they're taking these chances, bringing some of these guys that kind of surprised us. And if it doesn't work out, you go back to some stars who were left off the roster, if you will.
I'm also just intrigued overall, like how much John Cooper is going to view this as a tune-up. Is he going all trying to focus on winning the Four Nations, or is he going to do some things as a testing ground for 2026? And I really hope there's a mix of both. I really hope that he tries some things. And maybe it costs us a game. Maybe it ultimately costs us the Four Nations. But he tried something because he wanted to know if it would work in advance of 2026. Like, I feel like for all Four Nations, they need to view it as you're saying a tune-up. It is. It's a training camp for 2026 where the other nations don't get that opportunity. These four do. Take it at advantage of it. And this is where you have to, put McCarr or McKinnon with McDavid. And if that's not initially your plan, but you got to put them in at some point because you want to see how good is it, or maybe there's a reason that they don't work together. You don't know until you try it. So I really hope John Cooper takes it that way. And I am a big John Cooper fan, so I'm expecting whatever he does, I will just stand behind because he's a damn good coach in the National Hockey League who has never won a Jack Adams Award. And if I'm not mistaken, I will have to double check this. I don't even think if he's ever been nominated for the John Cooper Award. Maybe once.
Well, let's call it the John Cooper Award.
Yeah, sorry. The Jack Adams Award. Thank you. He was the finalist twice. 13, 14, 18, 19. But he has never won the Jack Adams Award. Got that one right there.
He could easily have won it. But that has been the kiss of death for the last few guys. So, maybe he doesn't want it right now.
Maybe he doesn't want it right now, but he should have had one. And
Yes,
it'll be
I
a
agree.
disappointment if we look back at John Cooper's career and go, this guy was one of the best coaches we've seen in the game. And he was never named the top coach in the National Hockey League. It just seems very weird.
You know what? He's paid like one of the top coaches in the National Hockey League. He's respected like one of the top coaches in the National Hockey League. Will probably go down as one of the best coaches in NHL history. Maybe he does get that Jack Adams Award at some point, but what if it goes down as like a Gordie Howe hat trick type of thing? It's like, well, John Cooper was like regarded as one of the best coaches, but he actually did not win the award. Whereas Gordie Howe has only had one Gordie Howe hat trick in his career. Maybe it's one of those types of things. I don't know. I'm just teasing, but
no, you're right. I'll say this right now. There's a better chance that he never wins one than he wins one, I would say.
Yeah.
Need to get to quickly spicy headlines brought to you by Popeyes. Festive family box featuring 4-piece signature chicken, 4 tenders, 4 regular sides, and 4 biscuits with an option for a 4-drink bundle upcharge. Festive family box. Only a couple more days left. Available in store and on delivery. I want to quickly sidetrack away from hockey. I know this is the oil stream, but just before we got on the air, you pointed out a tweet the Edmonton Elks had. Which was classic lurk, modern feel. And based on a little video they have, we're going to have it's the Edmonton Elks. They are still the Edmonton Elks, but a bit of a change. That it seems like what we've been talking about. I think we've talked about it quite a bit over here on ESD for the last couple of months. The Elks logo kind of on its way out. If not entirely on its way out. You will see the double E as the primary logo, it looks like, as the Edmonton Elks. And even written out, it will be the Edmonton Elks with the classic striping from the jerseys. The 2 yellows on top and bottom and whites in the middle. Different font for the Edmonton Elks. Your thoughts on this modern feel for a classic look, as the Edmonton Elks would call it?
Well, it's trying to get back to the good old days, the Eskimo days, as best as possible. And you know what, Maddie, like the white numbers with the Green Bay Packer look was kind of weird from the get-go. I know, again, the Elks were in a weird predicament during the COVID years, and they try to navigate it as best as possible. Unfortunately, they ran into a lot of speed bumps along the way and sometimes ultimately crashed and burned. They're trying to get it right under Larry and Deb Thompson. I know there was talk about like trying to go back to the old name, but I think if that's not going to happen, to make it look and feel and seem as much like the Eskimos, but the name being Elks as possible, to capture that essence again, I think is the goal. Seems like with this step, and if they start winning and they look like they used to aesthetically, and they start playing like they used to on the field, and the results are there, then I think that'll bridge some of the gap. It might not bridge the gap completely for everybody, but I think it'll go a long way in trying to bring back that familiarity. So good step, classic look. I'm looking forward to seeing what they refresh the uniforms with. I know the yellow or gold jersey numbers are going to be great, but I'm not surprised. And the double E being prominent, kind of getting rid of the interesting elk logo, which I actually liked. I thought they did a good job with the situation in hand that they were dealt. I like it. So let's get it back to looking good. There's a way to do modern, and there's a way to modernize a classic look, and hopefully they do it right.
To me, this is correcting a wrong, because like the Elks logo is good. And the board just fell in love with it, so they decided to go with it, but it shouldn't have been their primary logo. It should have been a secondary logo. It should have been something maybe on the shoulders. The double E should have stayed as the primary logo when they did the name change. There was always going to be people fully upset. There were people excited about the change, but the one thing we're all told through the name change discussion and trying to find what the next name was, it was going to stay as an E because they're sticking with the double E. And I think that one really dropped the ball, that you just caused more anger when all of a sudden there was a brand new logo. You already pissed people off with the name change.
Yeah.
But they were promised that there'd be the double E logo. It's still there. And when you come out and you don't even give them that, you now really created a bit of camp. So like, Ed Hervey talked about when he was hired about, wanting to still be like the Edmonton Eskimos, as he called it, but doing it the new way with the Elks way. And this is, I think, that perfect way of doing that, where it's the feel of the history, but bringing it a new way of doing it. And it should have always been this way. It should have always been, the Double E logo should have never went away as the primary logo of this organization. And that was a huge dropping of the ball, and that was just more further disconnect between some of the fan base and this organization. So to go back to that, it's the right thing to do. I'll be intrigued just to see if we ever see that Elks logo again on certain things, like if it's part of some sort of merch or sides or whatever. But it's nice to just see that Double E is back. If you were looking for it, just go on Twitter, look up the Edmonton Elks, and you will see what we were talking about of the new, more modern feel as the Elks have put this. Tomorrow, you said you have Hello Hockey. We all know that, 10 o'clock, right here in Edmonton Sports Talk. David Pagnotta will be on. As you've already said, too, more talk about the Canada Junior crashing out of the World Juniors. Anything else you got on tap for the Hello Hockey tomorrow?
We might touch base with an Edmonton area product that played for Straubing Tigers in the Spengler Cup.
Cool.
His name's Skylar McKenzie, and he was actually with the Winnipeg Jets organization. He was drafted by the Jets, played for Portland, and just got to connect with Skylar and try to get him on. It'll be cool to talk about the Spengler Cup, and they knocked out Canada, and then you get that local angle from it too. So there's going to be a lot to discuss when it comes to Canadian hockey. No better guy than Belzy to do it, and then we'll get some guests on. And Pags will have some updates from around the National Hockey League. And I think I saw somebody asking for like gossip around the Oilers right now. And I know Ty Emberson, his name was discussed in Spec's recent article about like a contract. That's true. Like they're talking about contracts for guys going into next year, Emberson included. They're still talking to McDavid's camp, trying to get that going and get that in the right direction. It's just due diligence right now. And then the scouting staff and the hockey ops department has meetings coming up next week out of town, and the game plan going into the stretch drive as well as trade deadline is going to be hashed out. So it's quiet right now, but yeah, they're just trying to stay on top of things, including like Emberson and others that they want to keep around.
That's Hello Hockey tomorrow, 10 o'clock, right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up later tonight, it is the Oil Stream pre- and post-game show. Tommy Hernan and Joaquin Gage will get you set. 6 o'clock, Oilers and Ducks up next here on Edmonton Sports Talk, EST Afternoons with Hernan and Gager. We've got the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Mill, which I believe you're a guest on today as well.
Yeah, 5:20.
5:20. A little bit more of Tommy. Tommy, good chatting with you. Enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the show tonight. On behalf of Tommy, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the Oil Stream, presented by Boston Pizza. Up next, EST Afternoons with Hernan and Gager right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Don't go anywhere.